Y'all buckle up, because today Wizard101 dropped one of the wildest teasers I've ever seen. And no, I'm not exaggerating. Today we need to talk about what they just revealed on livestream, the brand new upcoming Shadow Pact. So this upcoming feature is going to affect every single shadow spell in game right now. And yes, that includes Shadow Shrike, that includes shadow creatures like Dark Nova. What we're going to be talking about today also affects shadow enhanced spells like glow bugs. This is going to be a massive change for PvE and PvP. So let's dive right into it, right? It looks like the Shadow Pact feature is going to be their way of revisiting shadow magic and making it a lot more usable. So here's how it works, because you're probably looking at this card, you're seeing a lot of symbols, it looks intimidating. Best way to look at these is like an aura, but instead of 4 rounds like most auras in the game, it's like 3 rounds, and it could either help you a lot or it could hurt you a lot. Let's start with the hurt part, right? Some shadow spells in live realm right now already do this. They do come with backlash, but unlike the massive 40% backlash that spells like the current Shadow Shrike use, these are a little bit more generous. So here's how they work, right? When you cast a spell, you'll have it out for 3 rounds, and you have a chance to reduce the amount of damage you'll take as a result for casting this. It starts at 15% backlash, meaning, right? In those 3 rounds, if you don't do anything that this shadow creature likes, right? You make a shadow pact with this creature, you don't do anything that it likes, then you'll take 15% of your total HP as damage. There's no way to increase it above 15%, so 15% is the total. This is very generous compared to taking 40% for not doing something that Shrike likes right now, for example. But every round that you do something that it likes, not only will it reduce your lash by 5% of your total base HP, it'll also do other things. So, for example, though it looks a little crazy, right? The new Dark Nova, every single round that you have a dot on yourself while this is out, it'll clear 1 dot, and it'll put 3 20% universal blades on you and reduce 5% lash. Now, this is obviously more of a PvP spell, right? But keep in mind, right? Let's say someone were to use like a triple dot on you, like something like the new Fires of Mars. If you were to cast this every round, one of the 3 of these dots is going to get cleared. You can end up with 9 blades, no lash, and you also have a little bit of extra damage with the spell too. Every round that it clears a dot, gives you 3 blades, does a little bit of damage. Now, they only showed Dark Nova and Dark Seraph, but Dark Seraph looks even better. This is an outgoing damage and healing aura, and you can reduce lash and gain pips by blading yourself. The way this one works, at the beginning of each of the 3 rounds that this is out, if you have a blade on yourself, this aura will consume that blade, give you a life pip, reduce your lash by 5%. I think quite a few of these are going to involve giving you pips back for doing stuff that it likes. Keep in mind, Dark Surge does exist. You could trade a Shad for 2 power pips. So for this to be better than a Dark Surge, you do either have to use the actual like aura component, right? Like in the case of Seraph, you gotta hit or heal, or you gotta do stuff that it likes to gain pips from it multiple rounds more than, like, you know, you would have to with Dark Surge, right? So it's a little bit of a trade-off. Now, what's crazy is they're also applying the shadow change to shadow enhanced spells as well. Now, these are really important for PvE, right? Like top path shadow AoEs, they're probably the most used PvE spells: glow bugs, raging bulls, snowball barrage, nested fury. So here's what they're gonna do to them. They are removing the shadow pip from these in their base form, meaning every single school is gonna get a ton of AoEs that we've never seen before that don't involve shadow pips at all. Now, they use glow bugs as an example, and y'all can see there is reduced damage, but do not freak out. Get your hand off that comment section. While the new spells are both in advanced combat and in casual combat weaker than the current version of them, there is a way to make shadow enhanced spells that are even more powerful than the ones that we have right now. So this is the example that they gave, but they're going to be adding a lot of the shadow enhanced spells we already have in the form of fusion formulas, meaning, right, like we've already seen them do fusion formulas with things like spell weaving and, you know, even 2 spells of your own school, but now we're gonna have shadow spell fusion. So in this example, you could combine a Nova with a glow bug in your main deck, and you could even enchant it in casual combat, and this is what you get, right? The PvP, like, you know, not allowed version is 1100 damage, and the one that's allowed in PvP is also a shocking 865 damage, and it also seems to be doing a triple weakness for every dot that it clears on you for the 3 rounds that I guess the Shadow Pact is out on this. As if all of this wasn't enough, they also revealed on livestream that these are going to come with Spellmans, meaning 1100 is the minimum damage to expect from a spell like glow bugs. this is weird. We have gotten Spellmans for regular spells. Now we're getting Spellmans for things that you have to combine 2 spells to make to begin with. But considering the 1000 damage that we already have is pretty ridiculous, we're getting an extra 100 damage base just for combining this with a Dark Nova, which is very easy with a small deck. And you could also upgrade it even more. We could be looking at some crazy new damage output with Shads, especially compared to the School Pip AoEs, right? These have kind of taken over, but now we're getting like a power level increase. So this is more damage output with AoEs in PvE, a lot more variety of shadow use in PvP as well. I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, especially if you do advanced combat, about the things that are going to be happening to Dark Surge and Shrike. They didn't reveal what they were doing to Dark Surge, just that they are going to be changing it. But this is all they said about Shrike. Apparently, it's going to just be 40 Pierce, and it basically gives you a Myth Pip for every trap that it consumes out. So, for example, right, you could put out like an Ellie trap, go for a Shrike, and every round that the Shrike is out, it might actually take away a trap and give you a pip for it. It could be ridiculous while you still have the 40% Pierce, while you still have Backlash reducing. So I'm a little bit worried about the implications of spells like this, especially when they come with this much Pierce. But yes, even Shrike is going to be something that anybody could use. Obviously, I guess if they're attaching Myth Pips to it, I guess Myth will get an inbuilt advantage to it. But every one of these things will be good for at least one school, if not multiple. Now, the question really becomes, when these become the new best AoEs in game, right? Where will we get these Shadow Fusion Spellmans? I'm gonna assume that we're actually gonna get a whole set of new Shadow spells in the upcoming world of Darkmoor. I have a feeling we're gonna have to revisit Castle Darkmoor to get the Spellmans for these Shadow Fusions. I really hope that they're a little bit generous with it, because I think this is the first version of fusions that are applicable in PvP and PvE. I think that's something we could all agree is pretty goddamn cool. Now, I do have some concerns about this. They are going a little crazy with the symbols on the spell. I think for someone like me to struggle after I played this game for 14 years and, you know, still not know exactly what the spell is doing, I'm gonna assume that I was somewhat right, but it's still a little bit hard to grasp. I think they need to add a tutorial with these where you could actually test drive them and maybe make the pip stuff a little bit more apparent on the card. Maybe if it gives you like a Myth Pip, maybe give the Shadow Shrike a bit of a Myth aesthetic, right? If the Shadow Seraph is supposed to give you a life pip for doing things like having a blade on yourself, maybe give it a little bit of a life aesthetic. I think that would make it a little bit more intuitive, that some of these spells are a little bit more akin to other schools, because until you do that, I think it's kind of hard for the average player to grasp that. And I think you should make these palatable, right? I don't think it should look all confusing and crazy with the terminology. But overall, y'all, hopefully I explained this well. Big takeaways, right? Backlash as a mechanic is going to be way less punishing. There's going to be way more ways to use shadow spells in every form of combat in the game. And if you use the right spells, you're going to have even more damage output with shadow-based AoEs in PvE than we've ever had before. I think the part about all of this that I find so ridiculous is that they're going to be adding Spellmans for the shadow fusions. If I didn't mention in this video, we're also going to be getting Spellmans for the parts of the spell that are involved in the fusion, right? Base glow bugs will also get, like, you know, Spellmans. All of these spells, according to the devs today, are going to be cross-trainable. And they also said on Cat Live that in the future, they might make shadow fusions involved with spells that aren't even shadow spells right now. So we're looking at new Spellmans, new ways to do damage, new ways to cross-train, and more things to do in PvP and PvE than we've ever seen before with shadow magic. So while the earliest phase of this might just be like, you know, one set of shadow, you know, transformations for every school, one set of shadow fusions, literally the possibilities that are gonna come out of this are even more endless than we could, I couldn't perceive all the combinations of things they could do with this feature. I hope we get some challenges to meet the new damage output that we get. I think they could go crazy with this, but I look forward to reading y'all's thoughts on this. Where do y'all fall on this? Are y'all excited for the change? Are y'all nervous or intimidated by all the crazy complicated stuff they throwing at us? I think both are valid. I'm just excited because this is like something we've never seen before. Hopefully it'll make the game a lot better. I look forward to reading all of y'all's thoughts in the comments. Let me know what y'all think of the new shadow pack. Stay awesome, y'all. See y'all soon. And yeah.